During centuries of silence and search, initiates of the ancient world whispered of certain souls set apart from the ordinary rhythm of birth and death. These souls, marked not by outward eccentricities, but by hidden depth, journey through existence as travelers forever drawn to the mystery behind the veil. The Upanishads, born from the fertile soil of early Indian civilization before the era of temples and empire, record the secret signs recognized by those who have walked this path long before names and histories were carved in stone. Among the most profound of these signs is the lingering presence of past life memory, not the passing flight of imagination nor a childish fantasy, but true echoes of lives already lived, moments, smells, faces, and sensations that surge from beneath the surface of consciousness. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, composed in the mist before the first dynasties, instructs that the soul migrates with its experiences. It speaks of the samskaras, subtle imprints etched across the immortal self like wind-sculpted hieroglyphs in desert stone. Through every incarnation, the soul does not come naked and raw, but draped in the faint but indelible traces of all it has known. Some individuals, attuned and receptive, detect these ancient residues. They may awake from sleep with knowledge they never learned, or encounter places and people for the first time, yet feel a piercing sense of recognition and mourning, as if reacquainting with a half-remembered homeland. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, passage 4, chapter 4, verse 2, describes the soul's journey across dreams and deaths, gathering fragments from one existence to seed the next. In this context, the phenomenon is neither aberration nor ailment. Rather, it is confirmation of the soul's immortality, the continuity of identity rippling beyond the bounds of physical memory. Within this awareness, those who possess the mark of old soulhood often experience spontaneous knowledge, languages known without study, talents blooming with inexplicable ease, or unbidden recollections that defy linear time. There are accounts of individuals solving dilemmas with solutions rooted in customs and eras lost to history. Children who recount events and relationships long erased from the living record. Such memories, far from fanciful, carry the unmistakable resonance of truth, recognized by a spiritual longing that no present circumstance can alleviate. Beyond memory's haunting touch lies the second sign, a profound, instinctive intuition of the divine. Old souls, seasoned by ages of quest, move through the world with a deep-seated recognition that all forms mask a hidden unity. The Chandogya Upanishad, in chapter 6, verse 8, passage 7, recounts the sage Uddalaka's teaching that the inner self, Atman, is not merely housed in the body, but is, in essence, identical with Brahman, the infinite, unbounded consciousness. This is not an idea one simply adopts. For those who have trod this path for lifetimes, it is a felt reality. There emerges an effortless perception of sacredness in even the ordinary. The flutter of leaves stroking the air, sunlight set upon the water, the silent gaze of an animal, each transmission of the eternal, each shimmer a signpost to the source. This intuition expresses itself as reverence for life, a capacity to sense the numinous quality beneath the play of appearances. Deep inside, the old soul does not require persuasion or intricate argument to recognize the presence of the divine in all things. A profound humility often pervades such beings, a constant, wordless awareness that each encounter, each movement, is a ripple from the unfathomable source whence all stories rise. Uddalaka's wisdom reveals that this recognition is not reserved for mystics or monks, but flowers in anyone whose soul bears the maturity of many lives. Through sorrow and joy, within silence and in the world's clamor, this secret certainty animates the journey and guides the inner compass toward the essential. The third sign, woven intimately with this sacred insight, is the old soul's notable detachment from the fleeting pleasures and allure of the material world. There exists, in such beings, a gentle but unyielding indifference to the cravings that bind most mortals. This does not suggest aversion or bitter renunciation. Instead, it is the cool clarity of someone who has already tasted each flavor, worn every crown, and walked corridors of comfort and ambition many times before. The Chandogya Upanishad narrates, through the poignant tale of Nachiketa, the refusal to become ensnared by Yama's promises of gold, lands, and celestial pleasures. Instead, the young seeker craves only the knowledge that grants freedom from this endless cycle of appetite and loss. This quality of detachment appears as a certain calmness amid the fever of accumulation. Where others race to possess, consume, and be recognized, the old soul regards the frenzy with a kind of gentle amusement, content to observe rather than own, to appreciate the world's spectacle without mistaking it for the substance of fulfillment. Spiritual traditions across the Indian subcontinent, as preserved in the Upanishads, warn that true liberation can never be procured through amassing attachments. Only release from longing reveals the soul's immortal splendor. In such detachment, there is immense power. Freedom to choose what is true, to say no to the inertia of the crowd, to walk away from promises that cannot quench the thirst for ultimate meaning. Alongside this serene detachment emerges a rare familiarity with the transition all beings ultimately face: death. For most people, the unknown border between breath and silence looms as the greatest terror, a shadowy ending to all that has been loved and worked for. But for the ancient soul, the passage of death is stripped of its finality and becomes recognized as a natural movement, akin to stepping from one room into another. Returning to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in the 7th verse of the 4th chapter, we read of the soul likened to a caterpillar moving from one leaf to the next, untroubled, without panic or heartbreak. The fearlessness found in one who understands this grand cycle is more than intellectual comfort. It is an inner acceptance that nothing essential is lost in the act of dying. Those who carry this sign may sense a strange peace in graveyards, a gentle melancholy rather than terror in the face of endings, and may even feel the subtle shift of energies during the passing of others. In cultures shaped by the Upanishadic worldview, such death is not to be pitied or feared, but deciphered and ultimately transcended. For the old soul, the dissolution of the body is not the shattering of identity, but a homecoming, a continuation of a journey whose chapters outnumber the grains of sand upon the riverbank. Each sign, each echo, each insight, together forms a tapestry. The presence, lurking behind every moment, signals that you may indeed be much older than you appear. A wisdom that exceeds the boundaries of age, circumstance, or formal education often shines from the eyes of an ancient soul. This wisdom, rooted in countless lifetimes and cultivated through experience both bitter and sweet, can astonish those who encounter it. In the Chandogya Upanishad, 7th chapter, 2nd verse, the narrative dwells upon the young Svetaketu, whose understanding defies his years. He sits among seasoned sages, yet the depth and clarity of his insights suggest a reservoir of perception that could not have been acquired within a single lifetime. The presence of such an old soul is felt as an inexplicable gravity, words heavy with meaning, perspective that calmly bridges the world's opposites, a capacity for counsel that comforts and transforms. When ordinary schooling cannot explain your clarity, when you effortlessly solve dilemmas of heart and spirit, grasp moral subtleties unspoken and unlearned, recognize the recurring drama of ego and suffering. These are all signals. Those who are wise beyond their years often find themselves misunderstood or out of place amid their peers. Their priorities seem inexplicably misaligned with fashion or social expectation. There is a pull toward solitude, reflection, and a search for causes deeper than the fleeting distractions of the moment. Svetaketu's journey is symbolic, questioning, doubting, and eventually surpassing the very teachers who would set limits upon his mind. Tied to this luminous wisdom is an insatiable attraction for spiritual knowledge, an urge as relentless as gravity itself. In the Katha Upanishad, recorded in the first chapter, verse 20, Nachiketa displays an unquenchable thirst for the mysteries beyond ordinary sight. He interrogates Yama, the Lord of Death, not with fear, but with burning curiosity. What lies beyond the mask of mortality? What is the ultimate destiny for souls that wander across births and deaths? This hunger for understanding is not ignited by trauma, nor by ordinary dissatisfaction. It is the fire lit in lifetimes past, continuing its search for the flame that never dies. In old souls, this attraction manifests as a compulsion to study everything that speaks even faintly of the eternal, to devour sacred texts, to meditate upon riddles others find tedious, to question the meaning threaded through every sorrow and every joy. There is a recognition that every attainment of this world, wealth, power, pleasure, eventually collapses unless rooted in a deeper knowing. Thus, an old soul is ceaselessly drawn to teachers, wisdom traditions, symbols, hidden scriptures, and places said to hold the faintest echo of ancient power. The search becomes the rhythm by which existence gains coherence. The power of their longing is visible in other ways as well, especially in the presence of universal empathy. The soul that has worn countless shapes, who has been mother and enemy, ruler and slave, man and woman in the spiraling cycles of existence, recognizes itself in all beings. Such souls grasp intuitively the lesson of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 5th chapter, 1st verse. The self, or Atman, shines at the core not of one body but all. This realization erases the boundaries sharpened by habit, custom, and ignorance. Compassion arises not from doctrine, but from recognition. The pain of another becomes your own. The hunger of a passing animal stirs a pang of memory. The triumphs and tragedies of strangers evoke a participation as real as any lived deed. This is not mere sentiment, nor the conditioned reflex of a charitable mind. Old souls, forged by the heat and sorrow of endless incarnations, cannot help but radiate this fellow feeling. Their enemies are pitied, their friends understood without words, animals and even plants regarded as kin. Such empathy flows quietly from the memory of shared roots, an understanding that all are seeking home, all are moving from ignorance to awakening, each at a different point upon the spiral path. In the presence of such a person, even those bruised by life's violence find solace, as if some wordless promise of unity, healing, and hope has been whispered into their being. The pattern deepens. In the world of dreams, the old soul continues to receive and transmit knowledge beyond the surface of the waking mind. The Chandogya Upanishad, 5th chapter, 3rd verse, 7th passage, describes dreaming as a state wherein the soul traverses higher realms. These are not disordered hallucinations, but real encounters, messages inscribed in symbol and fire, reminders from realms veiled from the passing light of day. In dreams, the old soul encounters wisdom figures lost to memory, visits landscapes that shimmer with archetypal meaning, confronts lessons unfinished in prior incarnations. At dawn, such dreams linger in the heart, charged with meaning not easily unraveled. Spiritual traditions flowing from the Upanishads teach that these nocturnal voyages serve both as guidance and as reminders of the soul's vast history. Old souls may be granted visions, faces of loved ones wearing other forms, battles revisited, teachings repeated. Patterns in their dreams possess coherence, cycles of symbols and events returning, asking to be heeded. And though waking logic scoffs at such experiences, the soul recognizes within them a guidance essential to its journey. A reminder, each night, that life's boundaries are illusory and that true education never ends when the daylight dims. Finally, in this segment, the old soul's sense of time itself stands distinct from the ordinary. Sensitivity to cycles, cosmic and earthly, suffuses their being. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 3rd chapter, verse 28, describes the universe as an endless unfolding, birth and destruction bound in rhythmic procession. To the old soul, the passage of years, even centuries, does not inspire fear. They intuit the rise and fall of ages, sense patterns playing out in the fate of peoples and in their private joys and sorrows. Events are not random. Instead, all follows the spiral choreography of karma and dharma, actions and alignments resonating across eons. Old souls experience a strange serenity amidst change, wars and peace, the expansion and collapse of civilizations, the blossoming and dying of relationships. They sense that what comes and goes is only surface. Underneath, the dance obeys multiplicity and unity, birth and absorption, as planets circle suns and suns are themselves born and extinguished. This cosmic awareness makes them patient, persistent in their pursuits, able to wait through cycles of confusion, and eager for the light that comes after darkness. Every loss is gently balanced by an awareness of return, every beginning softened by the memory of endings long past. The soul that has witnessed countless cosmic turnings trusts the purpose behind apparent chaos, rests in the knowledge that all unfolds as it must, guided by truth as ancient as the stars themselves. In the continuum of awakening, another indelible sign arises: the power to gently teach others, drawing from wells deeper than this lifetime alone. Across the Upanishadic records, this gift appears as a silent radiance, a magnetic influence that guides seekers toward their own transformation. The Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, 14th passage, recounts sage Uddalaka imparting to his son the secret of the Atman's unity with Brahman. His voice carries no arrogance. Instead, the words emerge as sunlight through leaves, natural, necessary, nourishing. Those marked by many births recognize the same urge. Wisdom, once gained, refuses confinement. The true teacher does not gather disciples for the sake of pride. Instead, impelled by memories of having sought and found, lost and learned, they become conduits, passing the flame onward. This gift does not always bloom in the classroom or pulpit. It might surface in a glance, a story, or a listening presence that enables others to find their courage, to grasp their own buried truths. In ancient times, as recorded in the Upanishads, the transmission of knowledge was considered an act of great merit. The old soul, awakened to the unity in all beings, cannot but share the wisdom received, sometimes in words, sometimes in silence, often simply by the example of a life lived in harmony with the eternal. Even more striking, these souls develop a piercing perception of the illusion that enwraps the material world. The doctrine of Maya, foundational in the Upanishads and voiced with crystalline clarity in the Katha Upanishad, teaches that everything governed by sense and desire is a shifting shadow. The eternal hides behind the world's glamour. For those who have incarnated many times, this insight is not an abstract notion, but a lived reality. Apparent success, comfort, and suffering are apprehended as fleeting, incapable of providing lasting peace. The senses deceive. Only the witness remains unchanged throughout the parade. This brings a subtle, persistent yearning for what lies beyond the reach of mind and matter. Yama's words in the Katha Upanishad, 2nd chapter, verse 11, assert that the real, the only true existence, cannot be grasped by sight, sound, or touch. Those acquainted with this truth feel a gentle melancholy in the midst of pleasure, a core of unshakable calm in the storm of loss. They may take part in the world's festivities, delighting in beauty and love, yet remain untouched, knowing that behind every form is a deeper, undying light. Old souls may at times feel estranged or world-weary, but this is not cynicism. It is the honest recognition that, whatever the surface gains, all must, in time, be surrendered. It is this very surrender that preserves joy, for the old soul celebrates without clinging. Their laughter and tears, their moments of awe, are all tinged with the infinite, echoes of memories that whisper to them of realities beyond illusion's veil. Another sign unfolds in their intense longing for moksha, the liberation that severs the chain of rebirth. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 4th chapter, 6th verse, testifies that the soul that sees through the patterns of becoming longs evermore for the final union, the dissolution into the deathless Brahman. Compared to this yearning, all other desires diminish in brilliance, becoming mere sparks beside the sun. This hunger is not born from despair or a wish for annihilation, but from an unshakable certainty that fulfillment lies only in returning to the origin. Alight with this longing, the old soul pours itself into prayer, meditation, acts of compassion, any practice that dissolves the barriers separating self from the cosmos. In recognition of what stands between, each day becomes both a challenge and a sacrament. Every attachment loosened, every selfish urge relinquished, becomes a step on the ascent toward liberation. The old soul celebrates progress not in material accumulation, but in the slow, steady unraveling of knots, the lessening of illusion's hold, the increasing lightness with which life is lived. The greater the longing for freedom, the more luminous their presence. They become living reminders to others that spiritual fulfillment is the birthright of all, the ultimate goal whispered in every heart. This journey, across lives and deaths, is not one of passive waiting, but of conscious evolution. The Upanishads teach that each soul shapes its future by intention and action. Old souls, with their accumulated merit and discernment, become adept at using every circumstance as a tool for awakening. They practice forgiveness, not as generosity, but as necessity. They embrace gratitude, not as ritual, but as recognition that each breath, each ordeal, each encounter is an opportunity to grow closer to the light. Hidden within their eyes is a glimmer of remembrance. Battles waged, loves gained and lost, wisdom won through surrender. Their very presence is a testimony to all who seek the secret path. In the end, the old soul's greatest gift lies in the example of their life, a life lived not for the fleeting, but always for the real, kindling hope in all who yearn to awaken from the dream and step finally into the truth that never dies. As the journey through the ancient signs unfurls, subtle but powerful realizations emerge, often beginning in the hidden depths of consciousness and radiating outward into every facet of daily life. The 10th sign is the realization and constant inner perception that all created things and experiences exist within a cycle, recurring and dissolving in endless patterns that transcend a single lifetime. The wisdom of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad flows again here, in the recognition that the cosmos breathes like the body of a great being, expanding and contracting, creating and dissolving. An old soul does not merely witness the years pass, they sense the pulse of cosmic rhythms in all things, the change of seasons, the rise and fall of civilizations, the mysteries of birth and death. Time is not a straight road but a spiral, carrying each being again and again through similar challenges, triumphs, and heartbreaks until the deeper lessons are learned. This awareness provides a kind of grounding, a patience that is difficult for the hurried world to understand. Where others panic at endings or ecstatically chase new beginnings, the old soul remains centered, observing the patterns repeating in themselves and in the stories of nations, families, and even in the turning of the stars. This sensitivity to cycle grants wisdom unique to those who have seen empires vanish and reborn in the span not of decades, but countless lifetimes. When tragedy befalls, it is met with compassion and perspective. When fortune smiles, gratitude is present, but without attachment. Each event is a thread in a pattern too vast for a single span of years to reveal. Transcending this acceptance of cosmic rhythm, the 11th sign manifests as a profound capacity to become a spiritual reference for others, a living wellspring of wisdom and guidance. The truly old soul resists the urge to proselytize. Instead, their lives become an open scripture, inviting those who thirst for truth to drink freely. As the Chandogya Upanishad so poetically reveals through the figure of Udalaka, the true teacher's wisdom does not thunder. It gently unfolds, allowing the disciple to find answers hidden in their own being. To teach in this way requires more than knowledge. It demands empathy, humility, and the spontaneous joy of seeing others awaken. Genuine teaching occurs not only in words, but in silence, presence, and in the unspoken encouragement to seek directly the light that burns behind all appearances. The ancient soul frequently discovers that their presence alone inspires others to introspection and change. Their example, patience, and trust in the ultimate good of all become lessons for those mired in confusion or fear. When asked, they provide direction free of agenda. When not asked, their dignity and kindness serve as silent reminders that the highest wisdom is lived, not merely professed. Perhaps the most challenging and mysterious sign flows from the heart of the Upanishadic doctrine, the perception that all material existence is but an elaborate illusion. Maya, a play enacted by consciousness itself. The world of forms, though dazzling and seductive, ultimately cannot encapsulate the real. Those who have walked the earth many times sense this truth deeply. Things appear to come and go, but nothing of the real is ever born or dies. This produces in the ancient soul a remarkable equanimity, a light-heartedness with which they meet joy, pain, success, and failure. To perceive the world as Maya is not to withdraw from life, but to engage it with a lucid serenity, untroubled by the ceaseless rise and fall of pleasure and sorrow. In the Katha Upanishad, Yama declares to Nachiketa that only those who pass beyond the senses, whose minds are clear and steadfast, can glimpse the truth behind the mask of multiplicity. Old souls, having gradually achieved this view over many incarnations, radiate a rare peace. This tranquility is not indifference, but the fruit of a vision anchored in eternity. Even in hardship, they sense the divine play, the veiled hand of the One, orchestrating all events for the learning of the soul. Suffering becomes a teacher, not an enemy. Beauty is cherished without clutching. Loss is experienced without the bitterness that arises from believing anything real can ever finally be destroyed. This leads naturally to perhaps the most essential mark of the old soul, the overwhelming and abiding longing for moksha, the liberation from all cycles, the ultimate reunion with Brahman. Thousands of desires may call for attention, Yet the voice of this one longing persists, quiet, steady, irresistible. In every pleasure, a whisper hints that something greater lies beyond. In every loss, a secret comfort assures that nothing meaningful is ever truly lost. This is not escapism nor nihilism, but the pull of the eternal toward itself, the magnetic destiny inscribed in every heart. In the depths of this longing, all prior lives seem to rise up and merge, the victories, failures, loves, and fears transforming into a single luminous yearning. To be free, to be whole, to return fully aware into the infinite peace from which all beings originate. The wisdom of the Upanishads assures the seeker that such liberation is not only possible, but inevitable for all who persist in seeking. The old soul, meeting this final threshold, regards each day's struggles as steps toward freedom. Every encounter, every challenge becomes sacred, animated by the knowledge that they are links in an unbreakable chain stretching from forgotten pasts to a future of perfect light. The tapestry of the ancient soul is not simply a weaving of knowledge and remembrance. It is a living organism, evolving continuously as the soul approaches ever closer to its own source. The signs of old soulhood, when gathered and reflected upon, begin to unveil an astonishing story, one that breaks the spell of the ordinary. The previous block hinted at the overwhelming longing for liberation, but the journey of the old soul is also defined by a subtle revolution in perception, a continuous awakening to the truth that the world, with all its shifting forms and dazzling distractions, is nothing but the surface foam of a cosmic ocean far deeper, older, and more mysterious than most can imagine. Relating once more to the teachings of the Upanishads, the soul's pilgrimage through countless lives refines certain intrinsic abilities and sensitivities that are impossible to ignore. As life after life accumulates, the barriers between self and other grow thin. Compassion ceases to be an effortful discipline and becomes the default state. The ancient soul embodies a spontaneous, unconditional empathy toward even the most unlikely of beings. Where ordinary empathy might be bounded by tribe, race, religion, or belief, the old soul transcends such divisions with ease. Their heart responds to suffering wherever it is found, human, animal, tree, or stone. There is a mystical recognition. All sentient things are sparks of the same flame, wearing costumes temporarily, destined to rejoin the One. This deep cosmic kinship is not chosen. It simply is, as natural as breath, as inevitable as sunrise after night. Such souls often find themselves compelled to soothe, to help, or to heal with a patient intensity that can bewilder those who live within the narrower fences of identity. This is the true meaning behind the Upanishadic vision of the Atman shining in all. The fifth book of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad speaks directly to this. When a person beholds the self in others, then hatred vanishes and unity arises. The ancient soul does not merely contemplate this truth, but radiates it. Even in the midst of conflict, they feel sorrow for the ignorance that divides. Their forgiveness, or their refusal to avenge, is not weakness, but an understanding born of long experience. Dreams remain a vital channel for the continued evolution of the old soul. Dreams, according to the sages, are neither random nor insignificant. The Chandogya Upanishad explains that the dreaming mind moves through subtle planes inaccessible to the waking intellect. For the ancient soul, these inner journeys often become more vivid with the passage of years. Dreams may deliver teachings, warnings, faces that have never been seen yet, are intimately familiar. Archetypes, ancient kings, priests, wise beggars, radiant beings, may appear with messages or initiations. Sometimes these visions provoke a restlessness or melancholy difficult to articulate by day, but with each recurrence, the veil of forgetting becomes thinner. The practical effect of these dream visitations is profound. The old soul awakes with a silent guidance, a recognition of which path to walk, whom to trust, what to release. Even in the most mundane actions, a career change, a conversation, a sudden inspiration, there is a sense that something greater than the conscious mind steers from behind the curtain. Over time, faith in these subtler currents solidifies, freeing the old soul from the tyranny of logic or social pressure. The most authentic decisions emerge from this luminous darkness. Not least, among the abilities so patiently honed over centuries, is an impeccable intuition of the divine, an unerring compass that points always to the deeper currents. The form that this intuition takes may differ. Some sense a pervasive presence while walking in the forest. Others feel it descend during meditation or music. However it appears, the old soul trusts it as absolutely as the lungs trust air. This trust is not the product of doctrine, but of countless confirmations, small miracles, synchronous meetings, the quiet sense of protection and purpose even in adversity. Sometimes, this intuition can lead to a kind of loneliness. The streaming light of the eternal can feel like a gulf separating the soul from those still wrapped tightly in illusion. Yet this loneliness is, in truth, sacred. The ancient soul understands that their longing, their piercing insights and questions are a testament to the grandeur of their journey and the nearness of final freedom. The world's noise and judgment may obscure this companionship, but the Upanishads insist. The divine dwells closer than bone, nearer than the pulse, as the ultimate witness and source of joy. At the conclusion of all these signs stands the most crucial, the relentless call of Moksha. This is not a mere desire to be free of pain or suffering, but a revolutionary refusal to accept fragmentation as the final state. The old soul, standing at the doorway of liberation, gathers the lessons of many lives, not to hoard or boast, but to surrender all into the arms of the infinite. There is no longer any need to return, to hunger, to forget. The chains of karma, woven with such complexity in ages past, are at last seen for what they are. Stories told in the twilight between dreaming and waking. This realization has a transformative effect. Fear dissolves, striving quiets, and peace, steady and vibrant, descends upon the soul. Actions arise from stillness. Love is given without demand. The ancient teachings assure us that, for the soul that genuinely seeks freedom through understanding, each day is a chance to approach the final union, to move from the periphery to the dazzling heart of existence itself. The path of the ancient soul is a spiral, ascending, returning, gathering, and finally dissolving in perfect wholeness. Each sign described along this journey is a doorway, sometimes subtle, sometimes unmistakable, but always pointing toward the grandeur and mystery of your true self across the boundaries of time. As these signs accumulate in your lived experience, memories rising unbidden from forgotten epochs, flashes of wisdom unaccounted for by age, recurring dreams that seem less like fiction and more like messages, reflection becomes irresistible. You sense in the churning of daily events the echoes of vast, impersonal cycles, the dramas of personal relationship, the chaos or serenity of the world, all seem to draw their meaning from sources far beneath the surface. Children arriving as if already ancient in their gaze, recurring patterns of challenge or blessing, the unspoken gravitation toward those who see through the world. These are all footprints left by souls traveling together through countless incarnations. Your longing for companionship deepens, but so does your tolerance for solitude. The years impose new masks, but the silent witness within remains untouched, watchful, wise, and, above all, free. Every sign encountered on the path is both a gift and a summons. The wisdom you display, the empathy you extend, the detachment you feel from fleeting passions, all serve not to distance you from the world, but to seed the world with beauty, healing, and hope. Old souls do not merely possess knowledge, they become living invitations for others to awaken, silent reminders that beneath strife and confusion, every being yearns for the same peace. Through your example, seekers are encouraged to look beyond the surfaces of belief, culture, and appearance, and to commune once more with the origin they have never truly abandoned. You have tasted the joy of things that cannot be bought, reveled in the compassion that recognizes itself in friend and foe, and found meaning where the ordinary mind would despair. The teachings of the Upanishads are not relics locked away in scrolls or scribed on crumbling palm leaves. They live each time your intuition affirms the sacred unity behind differences, each time you awaken from a dream carrying the scent of some brighter world, each time you pause in the emptying aftermath of suffering to find not extinction, but the serene promise of renewal. What remains, finally, is the last and most crucial sign, the courage and resolve to embrace your longing for moksha, to surrender all the old stories and wounds into the mystery of the divine. In so doing, the ancient soul stops seeking outside and turns inward, where the final realization dawns that the beloved, the teacher, the home long sought, was always oneself, shining beyond change, veiled only by the play of forgetting and remembering. As the Upanishads assure, nothing that is real is ever lost. The Atman is untouched by fire or water, by death or birth. All who travel this way will, inevitably, pass through the doors of forgetting and remembering, longing and fulfillment. Through the signs outlined by the sages, memories of lives past, the intuitive perception of the divine, detachment, wisdom, empathy, cosmic awareness, teaching, and above all, the hunger for liberation, a map of return is drawn across the landscape of your days. You are not the prisoner of circumstance, nor the victim of fate. You are the immortal witness, bearing triumphs and sorrows across the tides of ages, called always to remembrance, to love, and to freedom. The signs do not belong to the rare or the chosen. They are the birthright of every soul awakened by suffering and beauty to its ancient, deathless nature. In following these signs, in honoring the invitations whispered by your own heart, the grand path of return unfolds at your feet. The world, once a place of shadow and struggle, becomes a field of meaning, a mirror endlessly reflecting the infinite within. And so, the 12th sign emerges, not as an end, but as the heart of the journey, forever yearning, forever arriving, forever one. This is the destiny inscribed upon the soul who dares to remember. The teachings endure, living in your gaze, your questions, your compassion, and in the quiet, bright certainty that all is enfolded in the embrace of the One. As you step forward, ancient and new, may each moment carry you home.